is good! Ferris State wins the basketball game!
You got it! Game winner!
Rips the shot and it's a score for Ferris State! What a play right there by the Bulldogs!
And so those are the kind of the guys I really wanted to model my mentality after.
When it's bad weather, it kind of comes down to grit. I think our team has a lot of that.
It's like you lose a game, like it hurts so much.
Like we're very culture-based, and so that's what initially got me here.
You're listening to Behind the Bulldogs, brought to you by Ferris State Athletics.
Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome in to Behind the Bulldogs. Brandon Wirt, Joe Nagy with you. We have a loaded episode here today for you guys. I mean, we have literally like no time. I think I'm actually taking too long on this intro.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, crap. All right.
You are.
We got a good one.
Yeah, we got a great episode. We're going to kind of do a rapid fire recap of what went down, a really fast preview of the Ferris State Slate because we got such a good interview with Bob Daniels and Coach Famulak. It's a great time, and we definitely want to get into it. Brandon, let's go.
Let's get into it. First of all, basketball picks up a couple victories, women's as well as men's. Ethan Erickson breaking the school record. 3-point.
Dog.
Incredible.
Next episode, we'll go more in depth on that.
Yes, we will. But congrats to Ethan, former guest on the show. You can check it out in the feed below. Him and Dolapo talking about it. Super cool. Anyway, also, GLI, not the greatest. We didn't play bad, but obviously
two good teams, man.
Played better than us. That's really how it went. So a little bit frustrating because they played very well, and I think the scores were not very representative of that. But overall, I mean, this team has a lot to prove, and it starts with this weekend against Bemidji.
Yeah, absolutely. And then women's basketball played against Uville and
yes.
Damon. Caught one win against Uville and then a loss against Damon. 72-54 first day, 61-56 loss the second one on Wednesday.
Yes, we got a lot coming up, but we'll get to that after a banger interview. Who do we have today, Joe?
Bobby D and Coach Fam.
Wow. This is a good one you guys have been waiting for. But real quick before we swing it, big thanks to Car Center, our primary sponsor for this podcast, your best place for body work in Rogers Heights. Stop in at any time or visit carcentermi.com. So without further ado,
let's swing it to the interview.
Now joining us here in studio to start 2024, head hockey coaches Bob Daniels, Drew Famulak. Guys, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. First question for both of you. I mean, busy time this last week. You guys got a game coming up this weekend. GLI last weekend. I mean, tell us a little bit. What was that like dealing with holidays, hockey, and just now having to do that all over again?
Okay, well, it's interesting because our schedule gets thrown off. And if team sports, you love your routine. And now the routine's gone. So what happens, we played Lake Superior State on the 17th of December. After that game, the guys were able to go home, spend Christmas at home, and then came back on the 26th. We practiced the night of the 26th. We went down to Van Andel on the 27th, got a practice there, and we played the 28th, 29th. Then came back, and we've spent this last week practicing. And, it's interesting because the cafeteria is closed. So, we do different things with the guys in terms of meals. And one of the things we do in the evenings is we have a thing called Feeding Frenzy. And it's community families that'll have the players over for dinner. And it's great in a lot of fronts. One, it saves us a lot of money. I mean, so there's no expense to feed them dinner. Two, it's great socialization, and a lot of these people have kids of their own. So, our guys will play with their kids, hockey on the driveway. And it's really good for everybody. And it's, I think the social, for our guys to get out and socialize, it's an important part in your growth too as an individual, is being able to go to someone's house, have a dinner, and converse with them. And then last night we had a really interesting thing, Wednesday night, where we had a third of the team cook for the other 2/3 of the team. We went to the West Campus Community Center, and we do that every year, and it's based on GPA. So it was fun. We had a great time with it.
So, Coach kind of hit on it, but more on the, when you look into the hockey front, and not only were we trying to get ready for the GLI, but, we were watching the World Championships, the World Junior Championships are on, and we had a vested interest in that because we have 3 players coming from Norway next year. So they're on that team. So we got a chance to not only watch our team practice, but then watch those guys play in a big time setting. We just actually watched them again this morning. They lost out to Germany in the relegation game, but kids played well. And so there's a lot of different things going on. And then Coach Kaufman's getting ready. And we talked about this before we hit the air, but the travel in the second half. So he's already looking ahead. Okay, what do we got going in January and February for travel? So there's a lot of things other than hockey that are just happening, and each one of us kind of has our own little piece that we do, and then we bring it all together at the end.
Absolutely, and that's a perfect segue. I couldn't ask you better to say it myself, especially with all the things you guys do as hockey coach. Obviously, practice, you're meeting with players, you're making game plans, but other than that, we're in the heat of recruiting season as well. You guys are going on a travel. Just talk about the daily life of being a Division I hockey coach and what that entails on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's interesting, too, because we ran to Coach Rock from the football team outside your studio here before he came in. We were talking about how a lot of times at the end of the day, I can look back and obviously you have practice, but the amount of time I might spend on the actual hockey is minimal. And then you've got all the other things that are involved, from fundraising to recruiting to, you got to do expense reports when we come back in off the road. And it just, there's a lot of things that are administrative that take up an awful lot of time. And just, I think most people think you sit around and just worry about, designing plays and that sort of thing. But it's not. Myself, it's what I really like about the job, though. I think if it was any one thing that you just came in, it was mundane every day, I would be very bored with it. But the fact that every day brings something different, and the recruiting is, to me, is a great part of it too. You get to meet people, get to meet the parents. So that's a really, it's a nice way to break up your day. And a lot of times we'll get in here in the morning and then we go home, 6 o'clock at night, and you wonder where the time went. You're just like, oh my God, that day just flew by. So, and then in between too, we have a lot of meetings with players, some academic, some about their performance, some just about life. So it's an interesting way to make a living.
Yeah, and Coach touched on it briefly with the recruiting part of it. And another conversation we just had with Coach Rock was, how much video that we watch now on student athletes. 10 years ago, very, very little. It's one thing that COVID did force us to do, and not only us, but the whole production of the what the kids are producing, what these junior leagues are producing. So when I leave here during the day, and then I'll go home, whether I'm watching kids in British Columbia that are 3 hours behind, or Alberta that's 2 hours behind, I'm always watching. I'll look at the schedule and say, okay, do we have any of our commits playing? And I'll check in on them to see how they're playing. But then also we're looking for future kids as well. So this month I'll get back on the road physically. There's a couple of showcases that we need to be at. But more and more of it, we're doing video, and like I said, it's not only just watching our kids, but hey, we're watching maybe 3, 4, 5 different age groups for the future.
And how do you go about contacting some of those international players? I mean, obviously with Canada, it's a little bit easier with the language barrier and stuff like that. But when you go overseas to Europe, what's that conversation kind of like when you go to reach out for the first time, and that process of getting that first word in?
Well, it was interesting how that shook out. We had a group from Norway came over last year, and they wanted to see our development and how we develop kids. And it was the head of the Norway Association. They were brought over with one of our former coaches here, Bob Mancini, and they came in and watched us practice and met with us, and we talked a lot about how we do things, and then it just happened that we'd got a tip on a goalie. So I said to Dave Sensor, I said, well, there's no use me going because Dave looks after our goalie. So that's kind of how that happened, was to get Dave involved. And then when he went over there, we found a couple other kids as well.
Yeah, that's super cool. And kind of transitioning a little bit to more of you guys as the people, rather less than the coaches. I mean, obviously you guys have been, as far as the whole coaching staff, have been together many years. You guys both in over your 30th year with Ferris State. Just talk about the dynamic with the coaches and what you guys do on the off chance that you do have off time and you're not out recruiting or you're playing making game plans, so on and so forth.
Well, we do get a lot of time to be together when it's not hockey, and generally that comes about in the spring. We go to a coaches convention down in Florida, and when we use a lot of the spring, obviously our schedule is nowhere near what it is in the winter. So, for realistically, it is a 60-hour-a-week job in the season. But then once we get into May, now that you can get your job done like 30 hours a week, maybe 25. So our summers are pretty good, and it's where you can kind of reconnect with family. But, we'll golf together, we'll do things together. It's a good time too for us to reconnect with alum. Coach Famulak runs our alumni golf outing, but and then for all of us, we all have families, and it gives us an opportunity to reconnect with our families. And when last year we practiced on Christmas Day, this year we practiced the day after, so it wasn't as bad. But we miss a lot of holidays. You're playing over Thanksgiving, you're playing either on New Year's or right around New Year's, so you really miss a lot of the family things. And then if all of a sudden you can make up for that lost time, I think that's very valuable.
Yeah, no, and Coach kind of hit on it. It's my neighbors always ask me, "Hey, what do you do in your off time?" Like, because when they see us, on TV. We're behind the bench. We're coaching, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of got to walk them through what you do, and once April and May, like we're already planning for that next year. Whether it's scheduling, Dave Sensor does our master schedule, so we're already putting the pieces together. For when our guys come back in August, and what changes do we need? Do we have a project that we're doing in our locker room, for example, or what are we doing to make our program better for a year down the road? So it's a little bit different work, but it's work that we enjoy. We all kind of dig in and help out to make the program keep taking steps.
And we mentioned it before in the interview how you guys got a pretty big road trip coming up, especially with the next second half of the season, a lot of travel involved with it. How do you, on a kind of individual, deal with that type of travel when you got to go a long time? It's going to be a lot of flying, going to be a lot of driving. What's it like being a coach on a bus or on a plane when you're pregame as well as postgame after the weekend's over?
Well, right now, our travel's better. The university has helped us out, allow us what we do for the long trips. And when I say long, we have Minnesota State, Augustana, and Bemidji State all in the second half. And those shortest bus rides, 12 hours one way. The longest is 15. And that's one direction. So, over the course of 4 or 5 days, you're spending 30 hours on a bus. I mean, it takes its toll. So now what we do a lot of times is we fly out there and then we bus back. And financially, it's not a great deal more. And you think about it, the one-way flights aren't bad. And then we have one less night in a hotel and we have one less day per diem. So you subtract that off the cost. So it costs a little bit more, but not as much as you'd think. And it does save some wear and tear. It's less missed class time. But, really, I'm getting older myself, obviously. And the bus rides do take a toll. Like last year, we came back from Minnesota State. We played them in the second round of the playoffs. And we got knocked out, rode the bus home, threw my back out, and for 6 weeks I was miserable. So, it's just it's from just sitting on a bus, because what we do is after the game on whatever night, weekend series, after the game on Saturday night, we load the bus. We usually pull out of the rink at 10, and then you figure for Minnesota State, it's 12 hours to get home. You lose an hour, so we get here at 11 in the morning, and you sleep on that bus, or you try to. And you're sitting in a, not the most comfortable position. And next thing you know, your back's out. Or I'm limping. Something's wrong with my knee. So, it gets harder and harder as you get older, though. Those trips do take a toll on you. And your day Sunday's wasted because you're in a fog. You're walking around, you didn't sleep well, and then you just turn around, you're right back at it on Monday.
Yeah, we might have to have an athletic trainer, Brett Knight, who was just on the show a while ago, maybe check out your knee perhaps or something. But
over the years, I've spent some time with the trainers after I have. They stretch me out, and I was going to
say, but you can't take a healthy scratch either.
No healthy scratch. Going back a little bit, obviously you guys mentioned that you played golf. We talked to you, especially Coach Daniels, last time we had on the show. Obviously, you're a big fan of being out on the boat, golfing, as well as cycling, I remember. Coach Famulak, any of those common activities or anything unique you do on your off time?
Yeah, I used to play a lot of golf. That's been curtailed a little bit, but my wife's pushing me to get back into it. But I spent a lot of time, especially once end of July rolls around, my daughter plays college soccer, so I get a chance to. And a lot of her schedule is August and September, so I get a chance to watch her, and then my son plays college hockey as well over at St. Norbert College in Green Bay. So I try to get to see him a couple times a year. So I guess a lot of our stuff is we're still chasing kids around and getting a chance to watch them play. And then, my wife and I, we're looking to, take a vacation here and there as well when May and June roll around.
Yeah, for sure. Who's the best golfer out of the coaching staff? Coach Daniels. What do you shoot, Coach Daniels?
Well,
so what's the handicap?
Let's be honest here. Coach Famulak is, if he played at all regularly, would be by far the best. Myself, nowadays I'm somewhere between usually like 42 and 45 for 9.
Wow,
we used to be
better than me.
Better than that, but as you get older, you don't hit it as far.
I would say not ready to move up the tees yet. Just
I am. No. I started with the blues. Now I'm at the whites, and I'm kind of eyeing up the golds.
Slowly but surely, you'll make it.
I'm moving my way up. Yeah,
it's all good.
We were just talking about a course at 7,100 yards, and we're like, no way.
Not gonna happen.
Back in the day, for sure, we'd give it a run, but not anymore. We're probably 6,500.
I was saying, you gotta recognize your own strengths.
Yeah, it's right on.
That's the one thing.
It helps to keep score too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. I do have a question though, especially with a lot of alumni going to the NHL and a lot of pros in ECHL, AHL. The most recent one with Brad Merrick, he's with the Barracuda in San Jose. What's that like to see those guys that you've seen develop, that you've seen and recruited from like the lowest level to now going to the upper echelon of hockey and being up there in the pros and even after college hockey?
Okay. Well, the interesting thing, too, is it's not just as players. Obviously, Jeff Blashill was the coach of the Red Wings. He worked with us, played for us. Derek Lalonde worked with us. He's now the coach of the Red Wings. And just recently, Seth Appert, who played goal at the same time Jeff Blashill did, he's in the American League, but got called up to Buffalo when the head coach there got sick. And I don't know. I know the first game he won.
Lost the second one.
He did lose. He's still up now? I
think it was just the first, those 2 games he was up for last weekend.
So that's our third guy that coached with us that's head coaching in the National Hockey League. So it's great to see those guys excel, to see the Bradley Merricks make their way in hockey too. And Bradley started the season off on the coast. As far as I know, he's still in the American League and he's putting up pretty good numbers. So, obviously we're proud and happy to see that. For us too, a lot of it, then you look at, okay, our current players, do we have the makings within our current lineup of some guys at American League level and maybe can claw their way to the National Hockey League? And, I do think there's, a player like Antonio Venuto who's having really a good year. I think he's opening some eyes right now. And it's been fun to watch his progress. He's, not that he wasn't good a freshman year, he was, but he has steadily gotten better each and every year. And if you watch him in practice in the weight room, he's earned that. He takes his summers. He goes. He's got a skating coach. His skating has improved dramatically. And I think, then his confidence grows. And so, I look at a guy like him, both our goaltenders, Noah and Logan, I think both have a chance to play at a high level pro hockey. So we're excited about that. And our, not only the guys that are doing it now, but the guys that have a possibility. And if I could, beyond that National Hockey League, we watch a lot of our alums do really well in their chosen professions. We've got guys that are out there, and actually my accountant is a past player, the CPA, Derek Graham. My financial advisor, Nick Sibley, played for it. So these guys are, if you can't trust past players, who can you trust with your money? But, it speaks volumes to the guys that are doing things that are really special that are not necessarily in hockey. And we're as proud of them as we are the ones that make it in hockey.
Well, yeah, and just interesting got an email from Johnny Duff, played for us back in the early 90s.
Yep.
He's Dr. John Duff now, and he's going to be at the game on Saturday. And, he said, hey, can I get some tickets? And I said, yeah. And what we like to do, too, is when those guys show up is to come down to the locker room, talk to our guys. Hey, it doesn't matter, like, what era did you play in? And they always have some parting wisdom for our guys. But it's like Coach said, it's good to see for our current guys, like, life after hockey and some different avenues that our guys have chosen.
Absolutely. Super cool. One last question for you both. Appreciate you both for taking time to be on the show with us. What's been your favorite thing about being here in Big Rapids and being a Bulldog?
Well, I just think I love the campus community, right? Everybody's close, and I always tell people when you come here, you're part of a family. I know some people, I think it's cliche-ish, but I know here, Coach talked about what we just did with the community night there on Wednesday, but I always tell our kids, a lot of times the same people that are teaching you are watching you on Friday and Saturday. And I just like the fact that, hey, I can pick up the phone and get some help for kids if they need it. And I love the campus community. And like I said, I think our guys enjoy just being around a lot of different people, different sports. They're always hanging out with, different sports. And I just think it's a good campus in terms of, hey, we can go to the football game one night. We're at the soccer game. They're doing a lot of different things to build some camaraderie within our athletic department.
I concur with Drew, and talking just about the university, the mission of the university, I really appreciate. It's the fact that I think they do a tremendous job here at Ferris preparing kids for life after Ferris in terms of when you walk out the door, you're very employable. The kids are, and it's the RSOs, the number of, registered student organizations this campus has. And I just, it's exciting to see that these are degrees that people can put to use and work, and it helps the state of Michigan. I think the mission of our school, and I remember back years ago when I first started, it was the dean of the School of Business, Dick Hansen. He just recently passed. Great man. He was here forever. Anyways, he would look at you and say, what about Ferris State? We do chicken right. Like the colonel. The colonel used to say, he goes, we do chicken right here. And then the other thing I really like is this town of Big Rapids, the community, the people that live here. They're great people. They're very willing to help out if we need a hand with something, or individually if you ever need someone to lend a hand. It's just a really tight-knit community. It's a great place for my kids to have grown up and gone through the Big Rapids school system. I thought that was an excellent school system here. And as Drew alluded to, same thing with the school system here. Your neighbors are your teachers too, and so they get to really know the kids. So this is it's a magical place. And if you look at the other sports, Tia Brandel, she's been here a long time. Coach Anise, he's been here now a long time, and Bronkema, Andy's been here a long time. Well, there's a reason. It's twofold. It's the community and it's the university itself.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. Wish you the best of luck this upcoming week, and especially don't slip any discs or anything like that on the next few rows.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Big thanks to Coach Daniels and Coach Famulak for stopping by the show. So fun to have those guys on. Real quick before we go, Ferris State Sports Slate Rapid Fire Style. Joe, go.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Friday, the 5th of January, men's ice hockey is taking on Bemidji State. 7:07 puck drop. Be there because all the cool people are doing it. Saturday, the next day, women's basketball is taking on Lake Superior State. 1 o'clock tip-off, then followed by men's basketball against Lake Superior State as well, against the Lakers. 3 o'clock tip-off for that one. Both at home, so you want to be there as well. And then to cap it off, men's ice hockey is once again playing Bemidji State. They're going to take on the Beavers at 6:07 puck drop. Going to be a great weekend. You don't want to miss it. If you do miss it, what are you doing? Not cool of you to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. Be sure to subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. And until next week on our next episode,
take care, everybody.